Hi, I'm Robin Mather. I'm a senior editor at Mother Earth News magazine, and I'm here today to talk to you about how to make a rich brown chicken stock. I thought the first thing we might do is talk a little bit about the difference between broth and stock. You can make an excellent broth from a roaster or a broiler fryer or some leftover chicken parts in just a couple of hours, but a broth is very light in flavor, and a stock is much deeper, much richer, and typically tends to cook a lot longer. So today, as I say, we're going to make a rich brown chicken stock, and the brown part in that name comes from the fact that we're going to take these chicken parts and some vegetables and actually put them in the oven until they're nice and charred before we begin our stock. For today's recipe, I used about 6 pounds of chicken parts. I used about a pound of carrots, a large baseball-size onion, quartered, a fistful of parsley, water to cover everything, and that's all. So we've got some carrots here. You can see I've got about 6 of them, 5 of them, and I haven't peeled them. They're washed, but they're not peeled. And I'm just going to dump them on that tray. Same thing with the onion, it's not peeled, and the reason I want to leave that peel on is because actually the peel contributes some color to the stock. Again, we're just going to throw that on there, just so that all of that can brown. And then we're going to take a couple of stalks of celery here, rough chop those as well, take off the dirty part. You'll notice that I have some green leaves here. I really want those, so we're just going to sprinkle all that there. And I've preheated the oven to 450 degrees. We're going to roast these until everything is well browned and charred, and then we'll start with the stock. Okay, I think the chicken and vegetables are ready to come out of the oven. They've been roasting for about 30 minutes. You can see that the onions and some of the carrots are pretty well charred. I wanted nice color on all these pieces. So now we're going to start transferring them to the stock pot. And I used about 6 pounds of chicken parts here. I'm making a very classic French style stock, but if you wanted to make an Asian influenced stock, you could add ginger and garlic and sesame seed. Ginger and garlic and a little soy sauce. Certainly you can add any flavorings you like at this juncture. Just remember that if you're planning to strain and reduce this stock, you want to not over season it at this stage because the flavors will concentrate as you reduce it. So what the browning of the chicken parts and the vegetables does is contributes a different, richer, deeper flavor from the caramelization that happens in cooking. And really, even though Americans are taught to be afraid of burned food, when it comes to vegetables, if they have some char on them, some black, you'll find that frequently they really have the deepest and the best flavor. That's a little celery leaf. Now I'll tip this stock, the juices from the tray, into the pan. And now we'll add some water. For 6 pounds of chicken pieces, you're going to be able to use about 1 gallon to perhaps 1.5 gallons of water. So we've got this filled to within about 1.5 inches of the top, and I like to leave a little room at the top of the stock so that things can bubble away with plenty of room. I'll take this over to the stove now and start to bring it to the boil. As soon as it reaches the boil, I'll turn it down to a very, very low simmer, the lowest simmer I can manage. Put the lid on it with the lid tipped and ajar, and cook it for 8 to 12 hours. I'm putting it on the back burner so it'll be out of my way. And get my... Remember, I want to bring this to a boil first. And once it's at a good boil, I'll reduce the heat to the lowest possible simmer. And I'll set the lid on a jar like this. And I'll let it simmer for 8 to 12 hours. So our stock has been cooking for about 8 hours, and we're ready to strain it. And I wanted to say that you'll notice I didn't put any salt in, and I didn't put any pepper in. I prefer not to season the stock before I simmer it, because I frequently reduce it by half after it's strained, and the saltiness would become unbearable if I seasoned the stock to taste at this juncture. So what we're going to do is strain this. And you can see that it's got a lovely brown color, a deep color. It smells delicious. It's much darker than regular chicken broth that you might have made. And what I'm straining through is a piece of cheesecloth that's layered in about 4 layers. I keep pieces of cloth like this expressly for straining stock, and when I'm done I launder them with bleach. Another thing you can use is I frequently buy a dozen cloth diapers at a time and just use those for straining. And once this stock is fully strained, you would want to let it cool. And then you could pour it into freezer containers. I usually put it into 2-cup measures in zip-top freezer bags, because that's almost exactly the same amount as a can of stock. 2 cups versus 14 ounces. And if the bags are well sealed, you can lay them on a cookie sheet and freeze them that way. So that's how you make a rich brown chicken stock.